What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Teed Up. I'm your host, Pierre, PBD Plug Andreessen. We are back from All-Star Weekend, another incredible All-Star in the books. I must say, it is always a blessing and a privilege to be able to be a part of All-Star Weekend and to classify it as work. San Francisco was beautiful, one of my favorite places in the world to be. And again, just appreciative of the opportunities we got out there. It feels like every single year that goes by, we got more and more to do as a collective and as individuals. And the live show was great. Shout out to everybody that pulled up to the live show. One of my favorites. The crowd is always crazy interactive. We also had a bunch of other content creators pull up. That's always kind of dope to see. You know what I mean? To see your peers pull up and support and show love and everything like that. Because we all are always so busy, especially on the weekend. Like All-Star Weekend is so taxing. But yeah, just I think this was, so we done Charlotte, we did Chicago, we did Cleveland, we've done Utah, we did Indianapolis, and now San Francisco. So we are officially 6-time All-Stars. The time goes by so fast. Like I remember the first one vividly in Charlotte, like it was yesterday, and to look up and say we've done 6 All-Stars now, it's kind of crazy. But I walked away like a lot of people in their mind, they think we just go to All-Star and we just be chilling, watching everything like a fan. Like a lot of the times, like this year, I didn't really get to see nothing. Like we not at the game courtside with Giannis, like watching the dunk contest and like, hey, oh my goodness, look at that. It's a lot of work being done. It is very, very taxing. It is very tiring, especially when you go on the West Coast and the time difference is 2 hours. So every time I'm looking at the clock, I'm like, man, my body is really on this time. So we even went out after the live show on Saturday, and I didn't officially go into my hotel room until like 3 o'clock in the morning. And all I'm thinking about is like, man, my body is really on 5 a.m. right now. So a lot of work is being done. We doing a lot of work. We obviously did the celebrity game pre-show with ESPN, which was really, really dope. But we had to prepare for that. So we doing meetings, we doing a walkthroughs. Then we go from there, try to go to the Rising Stars game. We see the back half of that. Saturday, we have a live show, which runs into the All-Star Saturday night events. And I know a lot of people was like, man, y'all can go straight there from the live show. A lot of people don't know how much time and effort goes into the live show. It's like a 4-hour, 5-hour process because you have the walkthrough, the pre-show where we got to, run through stuff. Then you have the actual 2-hour show. And you have another hour of the meet and greet where we try to meet everybody, shake everybody's hands, take pictures, sign stuff. That's like another hour. Shout out to the team, Omaha and ESPN and Enjoy. They made this live show experience a lot smoother. Sometimes the meet and greet stuff can be another 2 hours. When we was on tour, we would have a 3-hour show, like 2 hours, and then an hour of prepping before. And then it would be another additional 2 hours of meeting everybody and signing stuff. And it would just go and go and go. So you look up and you've been working for 5 hours. So I say all that to say, on a night like Saturday night, when the show is done, it's like, yeah, we could try to scramble and get the chase real quick to see the dunk contest or to see the last bit of the 3-point contest. But it's like, I'm so tired. I'd rather just go to my hotel. So a lot of times it's a misconception that we just out there hanging out, but it's a lot of work. I'm always grateful to have work because when it's a lot of work to do, that means you're doing something right. But All-Star was definitely taxing. And before I get to the actual All-Star weekend, I do want to just address this really, really quick. San Francisco is a very beautiful place, and I feel like All-Star is going to leave people with a lot of misconceptions. A lot of us stayed in the middle of downtown, and the downtown area for San Francisco is a lot different than the outskirts of downtown. So a lot of the homeless population kind of takes up a lot of that space. And at times it can be overwhelming, even for somebody like me that coming from Chicago that has a high homeless population as well. When it's all in one area, it can kind of be a lot going on at once. And I feel like a lot of people are going to leave San Francisco with that in their mind. That's not what San Francisco is. And I don't think it's fair for such a beautiful city to get that rap. And I'm only saying this because I'm coming from Chicago and I've born and raised in Chicago, a city that is highly, has misconceptions all over the place. They think we dodging bullets with deep dish pizza in our hand and things like that. So Understand there's different parts of San Francisco. The very first time I ever went to San Francisco, we did a shoot with Mobile One, and it was more on the outskirts of downtown, and it was closer to like the Golden Gate Bridge and the water, and it was a whole different experience versus the times I've stayed downtown, which was a completely different San Francisco. So I just want to say that for all of the people that wasn't able to see that other side of San Francisco, one of my favorite places in the world. I definitely still got San Diego number one, but I think San Francisco is just as beautiful, and it's a super, super scenic place to be. And I also think a lot of people thought it was going to be a lot warmer than what it was. But make sure you check in that weather app and bring a jacket. That's for my producer, Christian, because he came without a jacket at all. And I think that was the wrong decision to make. On top of All-Star Weekend, we also had the pleasure of sitting down with Jaylen Wells for an incredible in-depth interview. I'm also going to be giving y'all some of my second half predictions for the rest of the NBA season. We got a lot to unpack. Now, for All-Star Weekend, I've been seeing all of the conversations. I got home and I was on Twitter interacting with people, talking about everything. And then I realized I got to get off Twitter. Less than 24 hours of being home, less than 10 hours of being home. Everybody is on Twitter talking just a bunch of mess about All-Star. It's just complaining. Everybody got the answers. Everybody got complaints. Everybody got issues. I'm talking about people wasn't even able to leave San Francisco yet. And it was just laundry lists of this. And so it's created a conversation. And I'm going to break down this conversation in a few different ways. The first thing I'm going to say is I agree with Kevin Durant. That there is a lot of complaining right now. The basketball community, the basketball world is so much complaining. It just feels like it's the easier thing to do. And everybody is just like, there's never anybody happy. There's always somebody looking for something to down about the game. We need to take a deep breath. We need to inhale. We need to exhale. And we need to pause and just stop for a second. That's like my favorite thing about All-Star, by the way, is to get back home and knowing that we did all of our work. So like the first few days back, we don't have anything to do. Like I was wishing that the Jaylen Wells interview was going to be long enough to where I wasn't going to have to come in today and I was going to have a full little week of just unplugging, no pun intended, away from basketball and just like watching college basketball. But here we are. I also want to say this. Though I agree with Kevin Durant, I also want to say that I think the basketball world, we have to acknowledge the NBA. What the NBA is doing is very important. And I always say this about GMs and teams when you're a fan of something. The number one thing that you should always want is an attempt. Like for me, my team is the Knicks. I would love for the Knicks to win the championship. But even if we don't, I'm proud of my team because I saw that they're trying. They went out and got McHale. They went out and got Cat. They made moves. They were aggressive when they needed to be. And that's all you can ask for. All you can ask is that they try. And that's what I'm getting from the NBA. The NBA has recognized and they've taken accountability to say All-Star Weekend has not had the same feel, the same appeal that it's once had. We're going to acknowledge that. We're going to take responsibility and we're going to try new things to create a new experience that's going to get the people back into it. And just off of that, that has me happy as a fan because they are acknowledging that there is work to do. Now, when you are acknowledging that and you taking your swings to take chances, it's a boom and it's a bust. So the process of trying to figure this thing out, fans have to accept that everything is not going to be straight hits. We're going to have some misses in this process of trying to rejuvenate All-Star Weekend and the experience. So like this past weekend, regardless of what you say, the first thing you have to acknowledge is they're trying. They're trying to create a better product for All-Star, for the fans, for the players, for the media. It is a lot of work that goes into trying to figure this out. It's a lot of work. So I just want to say we have to give the NBA and Adam Silver their flowers for just recognizing that something needs to be done, and you just have to acknowledge that. Now, on the flip side, I am going to say what I feel the NBA needs to do in this process of trying to figure this thing out is they have to figure out who they want to prioritize. There are three main voices when it comes to this. You have the players, you have the fans, and you have the media. The NBA is listening to all these voices at once. You got fans saying they want this, players saying they want this, media saying this, they going on TV saying that, and it's just a lot going on. If it was up to me, I personally would prioritize the players, because the players are the ones on the court providing us the product. They're the ones that have to go out there and put on a show. So we need to listen to what they're saying, and we need to listen to their wants. If they're saying we need to be in a warm city every single All-Star, we don't want to go to All-Star in Chicago and it's -5 degrees and we got to bring out coats and drive through the snow, then we need to listen to the players, and we need to acknowledge that and say, you know what? That's a good point. We won't have you in Chicago no more. We ain't going to have you driving through 6 inches of snow potentially to get to the United Center for All-Star Sunday. If they're saying that they want higher stakes, they want more money, then, hey, figure out a way to make that happen. The second voices that need to be heard is the fans, right? The fans are the ones that are traveling to these states and these cities to get to All-Star Weekend. They're spending their money. They're looking for lifetime memories and core memories to take back home with them as, older, middle-aged, and young fans. And so you prioritize that voice. And I think the last voice is the media, right? The media, our job is to talk. It's to formulate opinions. We're going to have opinions no matter what. So, prioritize us the least. I don't know one media member that's not going to go to All-Star if they're given a credential. I've never worked with anybody that was like, yeah, I got a credential, but I ain't going to go. No. Media is going to go no matter if it's a 3-team setup like this year, no matter if it's East versus West, if it's a good product, bad product, the media going to show up. So prioritize our voices last. Now, on top of all of that, we got to also, in my opinion, strip some things back. I understand the NBA is a business. I'm all about getting the bag. I would never tell anybody to not get the bag. But I've seen for years fans say, why can't we just get the old runs where they all wear their team jersey? So Steph got his Warriors jersey on. Bron got the Lakers on. You got Jason Tatum with the Celtic on. I get it. When y'all make the All-Star jerseys East-West, you can make more money. I get it. But again, I think the All-Star is about a moment. It's about feeling. It's about culture. It's about, you know what I mean? It's about much more than the money. Because again, you're going to make money. I don't the All-Star is going to sell. People are always going to pop out, especially the people that's in the city. It's nothing like having All-Star in your city. I've experienced it. It's a hell of a time. It's events going all around, whether you're in the NBA or not. Sponsors and companies are always going to want to be a part of it. So the money thing is always going to be there. But I think we got to take a step back and really kind of reverse engineer exactly what we're trying to do. I was a fan of the format a little bit this year. I know it was the Rising Stars. I saw what Draymond had to say. I saw what other people had to say. But the format in itself, I think, was good. My suggestion going forward is next year, we have it in LA. And hopefully nobody has said this, because I really feel like I really created this. You know what I mean? I really sat in my bed and I thought about this. So hopefully nobody else said this, so they don't be like, oh, you stole this from him. So we had the format where there was a third All-Star team. It was the Rising Stars. Next year, we switch it up. We get creative. Next year, instead of doing the Rising Stars, we should have the same format, but that third team are players from Los Angeles or players from California. However you want to do it. You want to do the state, the city, whatever. If you put together a third team of All-Stars, and it's Russell Westbrook, it's DeMar DeRozan, James Harden, Evan Mobley, all those guys from Paul George, all those Cali guys, you put them all on one team and they're representing Cali in front of their family and their friends at the All-Star game, I think the competitive nature is probably going to go up a little bit. That's just what I think. You know what I mean? Every single year, we should switch up that third team, whether it's the Rising Stars, whether it's a team full of, California-born players. Every single year, we won't be in a city that's going to have enough NBA-produced players to do that, but that's where we get creative. That's when you have the people that you're paying to come up with these strategies. They can take on that. Or we go back to just having a regular All-Star game where it's just East versus West. Just take it back to the basics. Or I'm not the first person to come with this idea. I've heard it all the time. We do World versus U.S. You put a team together where it's Giannis, it's Jokic, it's Luka, it's Shea, It's all of those guys versus Kevin Durant, LeBron, Curry, and all of those guys. And we do like the Olympic All-Star game, and you just go at it because nothing seems to really drive up the competitive nature versus when the people are saying the other countries have caught up to American basketball. When you say that shit, you see buttons being pressed. You see I've seen Kevin Durant be asked about that, and you see he kind of get a little annoyed. He don't want to slight or discredit any of the world players, but American players definitely have pride in having U.S. basketball be at the forefront. You know what I mean? Like, that's a conversation that kind of gets those juices flowing a little bit. So those are just some of the ideas that I had. I just feel like it's a lot of complaining. I thought the All-Star weekend was kind of dope as far as the Saturday night event. 3-point contest was good. The skills challenge was kind of fun. Chris Paul and Wemby tried to outthink the game. I think it could have been better if they didn't do that silliness. Just fucking play the game, man. Everything don't have to be this big brain shit. Just shoot the fucking jump shots. Everybody else did. You know what I'm saying? Just shoot the jump shot fast. But the whole I'm gonna just throw it out, that was just stupid. Like, what the hell are we doing? That kind of pissed me off because I feel like if they actually tried and they actually went about it, it would have been more competitive and we would have had another group in it. But that was fun. The dunk contest was cool. And this is where I'll wrap up. I enjoyed the dunk contest because though my young guy, Modest, he wasn't able to deliver the dunks, but he went out and he tried, right? Like the shit was difficult dunks. That's what you want to see. Just go out, try to do some shit. It was there. He just couldn't get him home. That's fine. Stephon Castle, I like the dunks. Mac McClung obviously did his thing. Andre Jackson, I ain't got no defending you, bro. Andre Jackson, you were just out there running and jumping. Like what Russell Westbrook said about Pat Bev, you just fooling everybody. You just out there running and jumping, but it's all good. All of the players that got on Twitter, the Ja Morants, the Zach LaVines, Giannis, Aaron Gordon, I seen all of the tweets. Y'all have to be about it. Please don't just go on Twitter because it's a hot topic for that night and just tweet and talk and not be a part of that shit. I'm not saying all of them have to be a part of it, but like we just had legitimately 4 or 5 legitimate dunkers on the timeline talking about, man, I might have to, man, what's up? So next year, if we don't get at least 2 of y'all, I never want to hear a superstar talk about the dunk contest again. And I'm not even the guy to think we got to have all superstars, but damn it, if we get one, if Ja Morant said, no matter, I don't care who doing it, I'm a part of it. I don't need Zach, Aaron. Man, if y'all want to do it, come on. I'm going to try to recruit as many as I can. That's fine. But Ja Morant, you started the conversation, brother. So we expecting to see your ass out there. You just give us something. Just your name alone will ignite some excitement out there in California, out there in LA. Come on. I would love to see Zion in it. I would love to see Zach. Zach LaVine is my favorite dunker of all time. He's one of my favorite players, but like when it comes just to dunking shit, Zach LaVine got it on the dunking. Aaron Gordon did his thing over the mascot between underneath the legs. That was cool, but I don't think I've ever seen anybody dunk the basketball better than Zach LaVine. That's just my personal preference and opinion. But yeah, like we need that, and I think we also need more dunks. For whatever reason, the dunk contest just doesn't seem as long as it used to be when I was a kid. That could just be me. I could be totally wrong. It could be longer, but I just feel like it ain't enough dunks. Or maybe I'm just spoiled that Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon went to like triple overtime and they did a bunch of dunks. So maybe it never was that many dunks to begin with. But even the scoring system, like I believe Modest didn't make his first dunk and he got a 40. It's like that should be a 0. Why are we giving a 40 to somebody that didn't make a dunk? It was a challenging dunk. He attempted something. It was different, but ultimately he didn't make it. It should just be a 0. So that's my opinion on the All-Star weekend, the conversation. I'm not a person that's about to entertain this conversation for the next 7-8 months or for the rest of the year. I'll wrap up saying the same thing I said when I started. I agree with Kevin Durant. We got to start appreciating the game. We got to start taking it for what it is. This whole conversation of just being unpleased with every single thing in basketball culture is getting so fucking boring that it's just like, it makes a person like me who this is my job. I turned off Twitter for the day. I got off. I got off because it's just draining. It's so draining. We not even off the plane yet, and we got all of these conversations about how bad All-Star was. If it's so bad, none of you motherfuckers go next year. How about that? All of the media people don't go. Let me and my boys take over the weekend. We'll do all the shit. We'll judge the All-Star game. We'll do the commentary for the actual game itself. We'll do all the hostings after the events is done. We all will do a little Hennessy coming back. You're doing another All-Star event, Hennessy. Me and the guys will host it. Everybody that's just having a terrible time, stay the fuck home and let us take over the weekend if it's that bad. Sit your ass at home and wherever y'all live at, in Massachusetts or whatever, and we'll just take over the weekend. That is my TED Talk for All-Star Weekend. I'm now being joined by rookie sensation, Memphis Grizzlies wing, Jaylen Wells, potential Rookie of the Year. And I want to know, are you technically an All-Star now since y'all playing tonight? I haven't been told the process.
I was trying to figure that out. I don't know if that's considered.
Are you gonna call yourself an All-Star?
Nah, it don't feel right.
How has the weekend been treating you though?
It's been good. A lot of everything that's not basketball going on. I mean, I think the new format was pretty cool. Just made it a little bit more competitive and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it's been fun just being a novice experience.
I know you got, busy man, you playing in the game tonight, so I want to dive right into it. Take us to the beginning of your basketball, journey. You got an incredible story, but I want to go to the early beginning, your earliest moments, and what got you into basketball and everything like that.
So my family put me into kind of every sport.
Okay.
3 of them that stuck out was basketball, football, and I did gymnastics.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And then once I got to 3rd grade, I just realized that I just love basketball more. Just going to the gym and doing things like that for basketball. So I just ended up quitting basketball and focusing on basketball.
What position did you play in football?
I played basically every position. My team was terrible, which is why I had to quit.
So you was the man on the team?
Yeah, everything but quarterback.
Oh,
Coach's son was quarterback.
Coach's son was quarterback. Of course.
I was running back, receiver. I had no blockers really. So I was just getting a free run at me.
And then what about gymnastics? What was you doing? You just I don't know the details.
When you're younger, there's not a specific event you're doing. You just do all the events. So you go to a competition and it'll probably be 5 or 6 other teams, and then you just each team just has people doing every single event.
Is it anything from those sports or even gymnastics that you transferred into basketball in your youth days that you felt gave you an advantage or anything?
Yeah, I feel definitely gymnastics. I just feel you get naturally strong. Abs are strong just for no reason, and then the flexibility out, of course. And that's something that I always stretch every morning, every night. So that's something that kind of translated from gymnastics.
What's the biggest difference between your game back then and now? Obviously, it's a major difference, but I've seen that when you went into high school, you was only 5'10", and then through the course of it, by the time you graduated, you ended up being 6'7". Was your game always kind of the same, or was there a dramatic difference with the growth spurt?
Yeah, I feel my game is a little bit more versatile now. When I was short, I was just sitting in the corner shooting threes and playing defense. That was really all I did. I think I just have more confidence now to just do other stuff, create a shot, and just do other things.
How was the high school journey, being a guy that everybody's talking about, slept on and underrated and whatnot? What was the expectation for you once you had the growth spurt? Did you believe that it was going to be a dramatic difference for you as far as recruitment and playing at the next level? What was that whole thing like?
Everything kind of all came at once. I was actually 5'8" coming into high school. I was probably the 15th, 16th man on the freshman team.
Oh wow!
Barely got minutes here and there.
So what is the mentality for you at that time? How are you thinking about basketball? How are you viewing it? Is this just an extracurricular thing? Is this something where
JV team, not freshman team?
Okay,
as a freshman.
Okay,
team. Yeah.
So how was y'all JV system? Because I'm hearing and I'm realizing everybody JV system is different. So your JV team is what?
We had freshman JV varsity.
Okay, so there was no sophomore team.
No, it was that was freshman, sophomores, and then I think They changed it to like juniors can join now.
So when you was the 15th or 16th, that's a lot of people on the team, by the way.
Yeah.
What is how are you taking basketball? Is it just like something I'm doing? I'm just staying busy?
No, I mean, as a freshman, I was just kind of like, this is what I just got to go through. Like, I mean, I was behind, like, there was 14 sophomores and 2 freshmen, so.
So it was you and the other freshman?
Yeah, and that freshman was like my best friend from middle school.
Okay.
He was the only reason I made it on the team.
Oh, for real?
Because we were best friends, and it was just kind of like, let's just take both of them. And like,
Wow.
he was like much better than me at the time.
Wow. So you're going through that. When is the leap for you where it's like they take notice of your game before even the growth spurt? Is that somewhere in there where it's like this Jaylen dude can play?
I had like a couple games on that JV team where it was like I just showed potential. Like it was just like a tournament, and he was just kind of playing everyone. I just ended up like I hit like 7 threes, had 30 points, and then so like I had like moments throughout the season where like I was like, okay, he can maybe play.
And so then, when did the growth spurt really hit where you came back to school looking like a different person? Was that junior year or senior year?
I would say a little both. I think going from my sophomore year, I was the 6th man on JV. To my junior year, I went from like 5'11", 6'2".
Okay.
And I started every game my junior year on varsity, and solid like 10 points, 4 rebounds.
Those some good numbers in a high school game. You know what I mean? Everybody can't be out here averaging 35.
Yeah. So I went, but then 6'2", and then COVID happened at the end of that year, and that was probably like the hardest I ever worked in my life. Like just especially in California, like everything was shut down.
Same thing in Chicago.
Yeah. They was like taking hoops off the parks.
Yeah, I remember that. You bringing me back memories. That was a crazy time to see how we are in 2020.
So like I was just finding anything to do. Like I would go hop the fence in my high school, go run the stadium, just really drive around Sacramento looking for hoops.
Where is this coming from? Is this your own motivation, or are you being pushed by mom, dad? Is there a community about basketball, or is this just you?
Yeah, most of it was me, but I mean, my dad was like the person that just like liked to do it with me. Like he would go run with me to the high school, hop the fence, and we'll just go run the bleachers together.
What I'm really trying to get at something, but what ticks in you to make you do that as a 17-year-old, to say I'm gonna get up in COVID? Because a lot of time, I will be honest, in COVID I was spending a lot of time at the crib playing the game. It was an excuse to do nothing.
Yeah. And
I was an adult, but as a child, technically, what is making you tick to say I'm going to not only work, but I'm gonna work to go work? You just say you hop in a gate to go put in work. A lot of people didn't want to do any work, let alone see an obstacle like, oh man, they taking off the rims. What I'm getting at is a lot of times you hear youth basketball players, there's an excuse to not work. Mm-hmm. But it seems like you doing, a little bit more. You putting in work to go put in work. So where does that come from? Is that a family thing? Is that a you thing?
Oh yeah, I think my parents kind of just put that into me. I just always felt like I had to move, do something. I just hated sitting around the house. So just being in that COVID lockdown and like you don't got school, you're on Zoom every day.
Right.
I just felt like I had to do something. But I also kind of felt like COVID was an opportunity to get past everyone. Mm-hmm. Like you said, there's a lot of people just looking at an opportunity to not work and stay in the house. They don't know when it's gonna end. So I was like, this is like I'm gonna come out of COVID much better than I came into it.
Do you think you're the player you are today without that COVID situation, for you to focus in and lock in on the intangibles and whatnot?
Yeah, I think I would be. I definitely think like I've learned some stuff just about myself just from that moment though.
So we go from high school to Sonoma State. What was that process like? And again, was there an expectation of maybe being a Division I player? And what was the process of choosing to go that route?
Yeah. So I mean, my senior year, I was 6'6", playing point guard, Division I school. It was probably one of the best in Sacramento. So I mean, pretty competitive school. I averaged around like 28 and 8. So I mean, usually like those guys are getting D1 offers,
absolutely,
especially from the school I was at. Was
there a dream school like coming up? You you from Sac, so I don't know. Is there a dream school in Sac, or were you like, I want to go to North Carolina, Duke, or?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't really like a dream school. It was just I always just saw how good they were and wanted to play. I always wanted to play for Duke.
Okay. I was the same. I was the same way growing up.
Yeah, I really had no like affiliation to like. I knew nothing really about them except that they were good at basketball.
Did you know anything about Sonoma State before you went?
No, I knew nothing. But yeah, I had three D2 offers coming out of there. Coming out of high school. Western Oregon, Cal Maritime, and Sonoma State. And a lot of people were telling me like just walk on, go D1. But like I just didn't think that was right for my career. I just want to go somewhere where they actually had a plan for me.
What was the plan?
Like for me going to D2.
Yeah.
Play there 4 years. Go play overseas or something.
So that was the mindset. Like going in, I'm checking into my room. I'm meeting everybody. You're committed to playing 4 years, and the thought process is, man, if I work hard enough, I'm playing overseas.
Yeah.
And so how was the reality when you started to see the buzz started to grow and grow and grow, and there was an opportunity to take it to a different level? Who actually was the first person to put the NBA into your mind to make you feel like that was a possibility?
Outside of my dad always, since we were little, saying NBA. Like no matter where I was, he was going to say like the end goal is NBA, and that's obviously was the end goal. Like even when I went to Sonoma State, that was the thought process. Like I want to be in the NBA, but it just, obviously it didn't seem attainable from there. But it was actually my teammate. He was like 6-year senior that year. His name was Jake Salinero.
Okay.
He was just like you're an NBA player, and like at the time like my team, our freshman team. My freshman year, our team was 3-25.
I saw that. Yeah.
And like I'm averaging like 12 and 4, 12 and 5, and he's like you're an NBA player. And I'm just like.
What made him say that? Was it a specific game? Was this the end of the season?
I think it's just like my work ethic, and that was like one of my best friends. So we were with each other all the time. We're always going to the gym together. He would say it. He said it often.
What was the transition like from Sonoma State to Washington State?
I think the biggest thing was the resources. You just kind of makes you appreciate what you had. Or what you're getting at the D1 level, because my Sonoma State had a shooting machine that shot to the free throw line, some bounce pass threes. We had one athletic trainer for every single team. Can barely get in the gym. Gym closed at 11 p.m.
Wow. Okay.
And you got volleyball teams coming in, indoor soccer, yoga classes. The gym access was crazy. Now you got basically unlimited food at Washington State. You can eat all the time. It really just made me appreciate the resources.
What is it about you that allows you to always be prepared for the moment? You talked about being a 15 guy, being a 16 guy, and you kind of was able to showcase some things, had a 30-point game in a tournament. You had your moments at Sonoma State. You go to Washington State. You had the big game against Arizona. Even in your rookie year now, you had the 30-point game. I don't want to say coincidentally against Sac. What is it about you that allows you to constantly be ready whenever a moment or an opportunity is available?
I think it's just my mindset. I always prepare like I'm going to be the guy wherever I am. So like even coming to this year, I was preparing like, they're going to run the offense through me. Even though I kind of knew that wasn't true, but just so that when I'm given that role or given that moment, I'm just ready for it.
That's a unique response, man. I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of guys are taking the off season or the summers to prepare for a specific role. So you're saying that when you prepare, you're not thinking about a role. You're thinking of being the guy, and then once the season happens, you'll adjust however you need be.
Right.
So. Yeah. When you taking that approach, what is the summer of right before your rookie year? What is that looking like for you as far as your working?
I never really had a break because I went into the season at Washington State, went to March Madness, so we played a little longer, and then I think a week later, I signed to my agency, and they're like, "Yeah, we start next week." So I packed all my bags at Washington State. I think I had like a month and a half left of school left. Did the rest online. Told my teachers like,
I'm going to the league, baby.
I was it was crazy because like went back home for the weekend, and then I had to leave in like when I went back to Washington State, I had to leave in the next 3 days. So I was just like telling everyone, I was like, yeah, I might never see you again.
Yeah.
Like I'm out of here. So then I did pre-draft workouts for like a month.
And you how many teams did you work out for?
23.
23 teams.
Yeah. But it's like
teams.
the before pre-draft workouts, like I did draft workouts with my agency. Not draft workout, but just working out.
Yeah.
It was like 6 days a week. We did like 3 days, and then Saturday was like a little shooting day.
Going into the draft, was there any idea that you would be a Memphis Grizzly?
No, I had no idea. One, I worked out for so many teams, and I didn't know where I would get a roster spot at. So like, I mean, I had a bunch of like two-way opportunities, but my agent was kind of just pushing for a roster spot, and it wasn't until draft day to where I got offered a roster spot from one team, and then right before Memphis picked me, they offered a roster spot.
Wow. So what was that? What was the whole night like? A lot of people talk about, like, even the lottery picks talk about the uncertainty and the jittery, the emotions, the anxiousness. What was that like for you? Were you all over the place? Were you able to be calm?
I was pretty calm just because I knew my name was gonna get called.
Was that the most important thing for you, hearing your name be called?
Yeah, a little bit. But I mean, it was more just the only nervousness that was coming was from either I'm gonna get a roster spot or two-way. But I wasn't really too like nervous about that just because going from Sonoma State to a two-way contract, like that amount of money to me is still
For sure.
insane.
For sure.
So like I was like, shoot, like I'll go on a two-way and then work my way up.
Yeah. So you go from the draft, you go from Washington State, you're at Memphis. I love the Memphis Grizzlies personally just because of the developmental standpoint. What was it? What was that like for you as a guy that came into Memphis? What was that environment like? Because I've seen the success of G.G. Jackson. I've seen Vince Williams Jr., Santi Aldama, Jake LaRavia. Now they seem to know what they're doing. So what is that development staff or programming like?
Yeah, I think it's a good environment, and I mean we have a lot of new staff this year too. But yeah, I mean I think it's just fun. Like this is fun working there. Everyone seems like a family, and I mean just the coaching staff gave me so much confidence just by putting me in these roles so early. Preseason I got to play a lot of minutes. Summer league obviously, but yeah, I mean I think it's easy to play for like staff and like organization that believes in you.
Walk me through the routine of Jaylen Wells on a game day.
Wake up, do my little stretching yoga routine for about 20-25 minutes.
You got an app or something? I'm trying to tap into my.
Nah, I started my freshman year. I just like built it on throughout all the years.
And you doing it every single day or just on game days?
Every single day. Yeah.
Twice a day, one time a day.
Every morning, every night.
Okay.
Yep.
So you wake up, you stretch. You got a specific breakfast?
At the facility, yeah. I got food at the facility. And then we probably got to shoot around, get some food after that, take a nap. Actually, I'm gonna play a couple of 2K My Team games, and then I'm gonna take a nap.
You a My Team guy?
Yeah.
Man, I feel like My Team fell off. I used to play My Team. I was big on My Team, but
yeah, I stopped playing My Team, but now that, I can spend money on the game.
Yeah, buying packs.
Now I'm back on it, yeah.
Have they given you a card this year?
Yeah, I just got a 96 overall, actually.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Dang, from the All-Star or just?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I might have to tap in. They threw me off when they took the auction away.
Yeah,
Last year they took the auction and they brought it back. What about preparation for who you're going to be facing? There's been a lot of buzz and you caught a lot of attention with your defensive efforts against Steph and everybody. What is that like game by game, preparing for those matchups?
Yeah, I mean, watching a lot of film just on that probably specific player, just knowing the ways. I think for me it's like I try to watch the ways that, like I'll go to like watch their highlights and see like who's guarding him and see what he did wrong and just trying to improve on that. And just for me we do like a lot of face guarding, so it's just like knowing the ways he's gonna get open. Like, is he gonna try to walk you in and shove you? Is he gonna run to the middle of the floor and come off a pin down? So yeah, just knowing ways he's gonna try to get open.
What do you want people to take from your story? You not only have a good story, but I think you have an important story personally. I have a younger brother who is back at home in Chicago. He had to make his decision. He picked a D2 school as well. And just the response, you see a lot of people kind of think it's D1 or nothing. And I think a guy like you are showing a lot of the youth basketball players that there are so many different routes to make it, and not only make it, but be extremely effective. So what do you think is the biggest message that you want to send to up-and-coming hoopers about how to get to where you are?
Yeah, I think I would just say be versatile, just because you never know what role you're going to end up in. And then something my thought process, if you have the talent and work ethic, they'll find you anywhere, on any court. I mean, like, obviously, like you heard the John Morant story.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the main thing, just keep being about the right thing no matter where you are.
Before we wrap up with you, I got a little game I always play called 7 seconds or less. I'm going to throw some questions at you real quick. You just answer as fast as you can. Favorite all-time shoe to play in?
GT cuts. GT cut threes.
I haven't seen you in the GT cut since Washington State. Favorite teammate? Don't have to be on the current team, just any teammate.
Oh, ever?
Yeah.
Miles Rex.
Cheat meal?
Ooh, chicken and waffles.
I had to tap you into that. Why number 0?
There's not a good reason. The Jordan Ford, who went to my high school, he was in charge of the jerseys for the varsity team.
Okay.
And he just didn't order number.
Jordan Ford went to your high school?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And,
okay.
And he didn't order number 3, so that was my number.
Oh, that was your number?
Yeah.
Does he remember you from way back then? I know he knows who you are.
Yeah, we worked out when I go back home.
Okay. Okay. Favorite player growing up?
Dwayne Wade.
Why Dwayne Wade? Because y'all don't play anything alike. That's why I'm asking.
That was probably like the first play I ever watched. I grew up a Heat fan.
Wow.
I was a small guard, so like seeing him being a small guard and like he played big, like blocking shots, getting rebounds.
Were you a Heat fan? This is important. Were you a Heat fan before LeBron?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm not too fond of the people that hopped on the wave. You already kind of talked about it with the gymnastics. So outside of the gymnastics, hidden talent.
I can play the trumpet.
I knew you was gonna say you could play an instrument. I thought it was gonna be the drums. But how long you been playing the trumpet? Not that you play anymore.
I don't play anymore. I played it in middle school. They forced us to, like, everyone used to do like the flute and the recorder.
Oh yeah, I did the recorder.
They made us do like saxophone, trumpet, and like fancy instruments.
Okay. Biggest advice to young hoopers?
Always keep a positive mindset. There's a lot of negative things that can go in your life, but if you can find a positive way to spin it, I think it would be beneficial to them.
And last but not least, what do you see yourself in the next 5 years? I'm just kidding, and that wasn't even on the docket, but just talking to you and seeing the focus and how kind of locked in you are. I'm just very curious to see what you even think, because this is I don't know too many people who would be sitting here after, what was that, 24 months ago, you technically was at Sonoma State still, and to now be here at All-Star Weekend participating, being a high-level name, I'm very intrigued with the mentality that you have. So we want to see you predict the next 5 years for yourself, because you've shown us that the sky is really the limit with you.
I'm a NBA championship.
That's what we like to hear.
Couple All-Stars.
Come on.
And USA team appearance.
My guy, Jaylen Wells, I appreciate you, bro. I'm going to let you get out of here, get back to practicing for the All-Star game. Future champion, future rookie of the year, future multi-time All-Star Jaylen Wells here, man. I appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate it.
Fresh out of the interview, man, I got to bring on Christian, my producer. He is, if you don't know, even though I feel like this story has been told a few times, he is a big Jaylen Wells fan. He loves Jaylen Wells. He was high on him. He made this interview happen. He was super excited. I was even able to tell Jaylen Wells when we had him there. Christian, give me your thoughts, feelings, emotions of this interview. How did you feel about it? What intrigued you? What surprised you? Was there anything that you didn't know? Is there anything that you already had? Well, you know about the Sonoma State and stuff like that. Is there any takeaway about Jaylen finally meeting him that either surprised you or further solidified why you felt the way you feel about?
Yeah, I mean, first off, shout out to his agent Amon and the Grizzlies for working with us with the Rising Stars advancing on Sunday. He had a practice that was the time we were initially going to do it, so we had to move things around to squeeze it in, and it was great that we were able to make it happen. Thought it was an awesome conversation. It was great to meet him. The thing that jumped out to me about him, which I kind of already knew, but seeing it up close was so cool. He is such a chiller. Like, he is so focused. He's so locked in. He's stoic. Like, you can see, the fact that he was able to go from D2 to the Pac-12 to the NBA and like kind of be the same player the entire time is like, he trusts the work that he's put in. Like, we heard about his work ethic, and he's always ready to catch and shoot. And he's confident that, the way he's studying the film, like he described, that he can defend anybody. And it's such a quiet confidence. And I love that. And I felt that that's the reason I was high on him as a prospect. In that Arizona game when he hit a corner three to tie it, this was in January, about over a year ago, and just emotionless. Then he steps out of the free throw line, makes his free throws. Like, I could just read that this kid had this quiet confidence. You could tell the shooting ability, and seeing him grow into the player he has been awesome. And it was awesome to get to see you break it down with him.
Yeah. I was blown away by some of the information we were able to get. Will say, interview wasn't as long as obviously we would have liked because he had further obligations, good obligations to be able to play on Sunday night. Anybody like him with that type of story that he has, you want to sit with for as long as you can, because there was a lot of stuff that he was telling us, or a lot of stuff that part of his journey that we could have tapped into way, way longer. And my main thing about Jaylen Wells is his story is not only a good story, it's an important one. Just with the current landscape of like high school basketball, and when you talk to kids about how to make it or what their sense of making it is, he has tremendous story. The D2 route, the staying focused, capitalizing on moments, second round pick. Like, if I was an up and coming player in today's world, if I was in 8th grade or if I was starting my freshman year, he would probably be my favorite player. Not because of his game, because obviously you got guys like Kevin Durant and these unicorn guys that we all love to watch, and Jaylen Wells we love to watch as well. But even if I loved other guys' game more, just that story would inspire me, because it's like, you can make, like, all you need to see is an example of how you can make it. And you just go about that. It's so much emphasis. It's so much like pressure to be this make down All-American that's going to Duke. And I love when we keep having these guys every single year make a new lane. Like, for example, older players. Remember when they kept trying to make it seem like if you're an older player getting drafted, there's like nothing for you. You have a certain type of role. But then I felt like a guy like Jalen Brunson was like, no, you can go to school for 3 or 4 years and you can still, go into the draft, work your way up, and boom, Jalen Brunson is now a star in the league. It ain't just like a one and done thing. They were trying to write off upperclassmen players for a long time. And I feel like the last few years, the last 5 or 6 years, we've had a big example of how impactful and how NBA ready upperclassmen are. And we're seeing a lot of gems be picked in the late rounds of the draft. And I feel like the same thing with like now these guys who aren't like Division I players automatically. Be a Division II guy. Work your way up. Work on your game. Transfer. Capitalize your moments. And then you can go to the NBA. That's a new path that's out there. And it's not anything that we've never seen before, but it's just refreshing to see it like in the modern era, like right now, and to see him actually have immediate success. But that was my biggest takeaway. Also love the mindset in itself. A lot of people in today's time, because we have social media, a lot of people want to look the part. Jaylen Wells strikes me as the opposite, but then hearing his story, I'm seeing it's evident he's the opposite type of guy where, again, in a pandemic, I even said it to him, that was a time where everybody had an excuse and a reason to not do anything. Like, and it was reasonable. You didn't have to do anything. Nobody expected anybody to do anything. And this was still a guy that himself was figuring out ways for him to get better. And that's the type of mentality that kids have to have if they want to go to that next level. A lot of kids just want to go there. They think they're just going to wake up and put on a Duke jersey or put on a Division I jersey. It is tough. It is extremely tough. And if you're not putting in the work, or somebody wants your dream more than you're not going to make it, bro. You're not going to make it. So shout out to Jaylen Wells. Those are the type of guys that I love being able to have on the show, and I'm going to continue to want on the show, because those conversations, I think, are so important. We can talk about the NBA. We can talk about his experiences and hear that side of the story as well. But I think we have a duty to inform and educate the next batch of young NBA players or Division I aspiring players, that there's ways to get there, and that you just, you run your own race. And me and Christian, we have a lot of I started to vibe with Christian when Christian brought to me a player. I forget his name. He's the point guard at Notre Dame. And I asked Christian, I said, hey, are you telling me this guy for the draft, or are you telling me this guy for college basketball? And Christian, oh, for college basketball. And I was like, hey, you my guy. Because the draft has become such a thing where we like gloss over that there's just good college basketball players, and ain't nothing wrong with that. And like, we need to also tell our youth that, like, if you're just going to be a good college basketball player, be that. Everybody does not have to be. The goal is to get to the league. I get it. But like, there is nothing embarrassing or wrong about being a good basketball player and having a good 4-year career, 5-year career potentially, and like graduating with a degree, and you maybe go on a coaching staff in a couple of years, or you maybe play overseas. Like, that's fine. You got to maximize your ability the most. But like, it broke my heart when I seen Javon Corneli post that post when he graduated. Like, he felt like he failed. And it was just like that. We cannot have our youth thinking that it's like NBA or bust, because the NBA is so tough, man. I seen Kevin Durant out the mud with Tony Allen and Zebo, and he said that there was some weird stat that he saw where it was like only 10,000 people in the history of mankind have played in the NBA. And you think about how many people have been in the world and on the universe, and for it to have only been like 10,000 people to make it to the NBA, it's mind-blowing. But that's how tough it is to get there. And like, yeah, so I appreciate Jaylen Wells. I would love to have him back on the show for an extended interview, a candid interview, where we can really dive into the grind of Division II basketball and what it takes to actually propel yourself out of all of the I don't want to call them holes, but out of all of the low moments that people perceive to be, and to make it to where he's at. Like, we only did the surface level stuff. Like, he has a story that really needs to get dove into on a way, way, way deeper level, because there's so much to pull out of that. Like, I just, again, and I said this off camera to you, Christian, I don't know too many people who in their story, it's movie shit. It's impossible to capitalize on every single opportunity you get. And when you listen to Jaylen Wells' story and you see his story, you go do your own research, he capitalized on every single moment. And some of it is evident, but then you hear the stories from him that you don't have in the internet, where he told us he was the 15th, 16th man in high school, and they had like this one random tournament, and he dropped 30. For whatever reason, he got to play in his tournament, and out of nowhere, 5'5" Jaylen Wells drops 30. And now they go back to school, and the coaching staff and everybody's like, what the hell? We got a guy, the 15th man, and he's able to score 30. Like, maybe we fucked up for a while. And so, like, just an incredible story, man. Incredible guest. Thank you, Jaylen Wells, for stopping through. Again, got to have him back on to do a much, much more longer deep dive, but a very inspiring interview for what should be the next generation of hoopers trying to come up.
Couple final notes with Wells. One, that Notre Dame point guard. Shout out Marcus Burton.
There you go,
two,
Marcus Burton.
With Wells, when he said to you, like, he averaged like 26 a game his senior year, like, and he could have been preferred walk on, and like he said, I would like, what's the best basketball decision for me? And it's so cool to see how that worked out. You know, he's like, I want to play right away. Like, I want to be closer to home. Or like, he's like, shit, maybe I'll play 4 years of D2 and go overseas. Like, I'm cool. Like, the fact that he chose his own path and that it worked out for him is awesome. And it's a reminder that, yeah, for some guys, maybe it is the move to take that opportunity to play at the highest level you can and then work your way in practice versus going to somewhere where you can play right away. So shout out to him for that.
A conversation that me and my dad have all the time, because my brother is currently a high school player, is we've seen that. So my brother has worked out with a lot of players or whatever, and you go see them, you see their careers play out. And I'm not gonna name no names, but we've seen a lot of guys who you're around, you get to see, and we felt like in private, because we're rooting for everybody, but we would see guys commit or go to different schools, and me and my dad would be like, man, happy for him, but I don't know if that was the school. Like, it seems like a lot of kids, again, because it's a look or it's a sound, or like, how many guys have you seen, Christian, even if you don't know him personally, you may have seen a kid be like, yeah, he commits to Duke. And you may be like, oh, okay, like, I get it, it's Duke or whatever. But then you may look and be like, man, I just don't know. You probably would have had a better basketball fit elsewhere. And like, so we've seen a lot of guys commit to certain places. And me and my dad would be on the phone like, man, I just wish he would went to here or went to there. And sure enough, what ends up happening is a guy goes to a Kentucky, goes to a Duke, goes to like a top school, and then he has to transfer, and he has to go to a smaller school and kind of build himself up. And it's like, I wish guys would do that immediately. Don't waste that year of going to the glitz and glamour school. Even though I know it's very tough to turn down Calipari and Duke and who else is out there? North Carolina. I know it's hard when Coach K was coming in your living room to say no, or now John Shire or whatever. But hell, sometimes you got to be Scotty Barnes and go to Florida State, because I felt like Florida State and Leonard Hamilton was perfect for what Scotty Barnes was as a player, and his defensive, attitude and everything. That was like perfect in my opinion. Or you see like Lonzo when he went to UCLA. I know he was staying close to home, but the way that they played and flowed with Lonzo's style was kind of like, it fit like a glove. And so my little brother just went through the same thing. And that's why I brought it up in the Jaylen Wells interview, because my little brother, he had interest from Nebraska. He took a visit to Oregon State. DePaul was in the mix. He had a visit at U of I. But at the end of the day, he ended up going to a D2 school because he wanted to play right away, and because he has a coach that believed in him and they have a plan. So when Jaylen Wells was talking about he had a plan at Sonoma State, I felt that to my core, because a lot of people, when my brother made a decision, was like, oh, he going in there. It's Pittsburgh State, and they're coached by, oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. I hate when my mind blanks. They're coached by, he used to play for Kansas. He was a McDonald All-American. My brain is fried right now. But they had a plan.
Jeff Boschee?
Jeff Boschee. Jeff Boschee played with Nick Collison and Wayne Simeon and Kirk Heinrich. They went to the Final Four with Jeff Boschee. Played all 4 years there, was a starter. And having a coach like that comes from that, and that knows what it takes, and that has a belief in you and a plan for you, and you're going to be able to play right away. That meant more to my little brother than to say, I go to DePaul. But it's like, do you go to DePaul and you barely play, or you have a freshman year where you don't really see the court and you're not winning and you don't grow? Or do you go to a school that may not be as known or may not be as popular, it may not have the look, but you going to play, have a coaching staff that believes in you and know what they're doing, and you have an opportunity to get better? Because if you're not getting better, I don't care where you go. Let me go to the place I'm going to get better instead of just sitting on the bench 4 years at UNC. It's UNC. Don't get me wrong, it's UNC, but like, am I getting better? Or am I going to get caught up in the fact that they're getting 5-star players every single year, and I'm not really going to have a chance to improve as a player? So when Jaylen Wells was saying that, it was like, it was music to my ears, because I just seen my younger brother go through the same process. And I commend people like that, because I've seen guys where I'm like, I'll even give you an example. I'll say the name because you have the vest on. When Bryce Hopkins went to Kentucky, I was like, okay, I like Bryce Hopkins. He went to Fenwick. That's right where my dad lives. And that was a school my brother kind of was thinking about going to. Mike Smith, my young homie, who went to Columbia and then went to Michigan, he went to Fenwick. So I knew of Bryce Hopkins through that realm. My little brother works out with so many different people in the offseason and stuff. That's how I found out about it. Like Danny Wolf. Danny Wolf was a guy that worked out with my brother. So because of that, I was like, oh, Danny Wolf, this guy to go to Yale. And now he's at Michigan. It's like, I remember that dude or whatnot. So long story short, Bryce Hopkins went to Kentucky, and I was kind of like, damn, he can't really find his way on his team. I know he's a much better player. Transferred to Providence, looked like a whole different guy. Shot up. And it's like, I wish he was able to start at Providence because it would have been a much different circumstance. But yeah, man, shout out to Jaylen Wells. What was the last point you was going to make, though? Because this is a conversation. This is an episode in itself, honestly.
Yeah. Last point that I had was just the other two guys that come to mind. I might be missing somebody. Guys who went D2 or D3 are Max Strus and Duncan Robinson, who both then transferred to a Power 5 and then did it. And what's the common thread between Wells and those guys? Shooters. And obviously they do more than shooting, but at the end of the day, that's practice and that's confidence. And obviously there's talent and natural ability that goes into shooting as well. But that, I feel like they are such a good example. Like if you can shoot the basket, at the end of the day, basketball's about getting the ball in the basket. And you can do that without anybody. All you need is a rim. All you need is a hoop. And I hope that those guys and their journeys inspire young hoopers that to practice. And if you put that work in, then anything is possible.
I wish my dad was here because we was having a conversation a few times over the last month, and he was involving my brother in the conversation. He was saying it was like 3 things like that they're looking for at the next level or something. It was like height. You got to be like 6'5" or something, 6'5" and above. And it was like a 40-inch vertical, like the athleticism to be born with. And then he was like shooting a basketball. And he was breaking it down to my brother. He's like, you know, you're getting taller, but you ain't 6'5". You don't have a 40-inch vertical, but you can shoot the ball. So you have a skill set that the game is looking for all over the place. And like you said, you named all of those guys that if they don't do anything, they can shoot the damn basketball. And shout out to Max Strus. He's from around the way as well. He went to Stagg High School, and I was able to see Max Strus when he was a small kid. He was not always tall. When I first seen Max Strus, we held the tournament at my school for the summer league, and older players would do the clock for some of the younger players, and Max Strus was young at the time, so I was doing a clock for a Stagg High School game, and Max Strus was playing, and he was their best player, but he wasn't out of this world. He was a typical player. He was nothing, but I remember the name and the face, and to see him shoot up, I was like, what the hell? And then I seen him at like DePaul. And I was like, oh, that's the dude. When he had trained, I'm like, that's the dude from Stagg. Okay, I remember him. And then I seen him in the NBA. He was on the Bulls. And I was like, what the hell? This is the dude I did the clock for at that Stagg game. I was seeing him all tournament because I did their game one time and I seen him and he left like a small impression and I would see him throughout the thing. And then I left that summer not ever thinking of the name Max Strus again. And I kept seeing it over the years. And then he popped up in the NBA. So, yeah, keep working.
28 games left in the season. Yeah. A lot of interesting storylines, a lot of tight races. The West is crazy. There's really 12 teams that could all make the playoffs. Let's start there, Pete. I'm looking at these West standings. The Spurs, you can't tell me the Spurs are dead in any sense of the word. And then the Warriors, you're adding Jimmy Butler, you have new life. The Suns aren't going to just roll over with Booker and KD. And then the Timberwolves, there's other teams that somebody's going to miss the playoffs. What are you thinking when you're looking at these West standings? Who do you think is going to go up and down?
It is so tough, number one, because all of those teams are so, on paper, they're so good, even though they're at the bottom of the play-in, playoff type thing. It's a lot of good situations out here. So the Warriors, I think, are rejuvenated. So I'm going to put the Warriors in. I think the Warriors find a way. Jimmy Butler is giving them definitely some new life. What are they, 3-1 in the 4 games he's played? He's been really, really good there. I think the break is going to be good for them as well as an older team, the All-Star break. I'll tell you this. I'm worried for the Phoenix Suns. I don't, for whatever reason, they just don't perform the way that I think that they should. Not that they're some great team on paper, but I always felt like they had enough. But I also can't rule out Kevin Durant and Devin Booker because those are just 2 guys that can get shit done. I am looking at the Mavericks. The Mavericks lost AD. They lost Gafford. They don't have Lively. I've seen that they just picked up like Moses Brown on a 10-day contract. I believe I just saw when I first started recording. They're going to miss their interior and their size. That could hurt them. I don't know how long the Anthony Davis injury is going to be, but if they're not able to get these guys back before the end of March, it could get real ugly And then the Spurs, like I want to believe in the Spurs, but the Spurs, even with De'Aaron Fox, they're still hit or miss. They still are kind of like they'll have a performance where like Wemby and De'Aaron Fox went off, and it was like okay, but then they had the game and they lost to the Hornets, and I was like, you can't at this point in the season, they can't have the errors where they're losing to the Hornets. The race is too close right now, and they're on the back end of it. They're 12th right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they can't afford to be losing to the Hornets and stuff like that. So, if I had to pick two teams that would fall out, I am going to pick. Man, this is tough. I'll pick the Phoenix Suns, even though I don't want to. I just have to pick somebody, and I'll pick the Spurs. I think maybe the Spurs don't make it, man. Maybe it's too much of a jump they would have to make. I think the Mavericks can hold on by dear life, but the one team that I am watching like a hawk, I'm watching the Timberwolves, man. The Timberwolves cannot afford to go on any type of skid. They've been up and down. They'll win 3 or 4 in a row, and then they'll lose 5 in a row. Like they've kind of been hit or miss. Julius Randle has been hurt. Dante DiVincenzo got the broken toe. So I'm looking at the Timberwolves, but I'm gonna give them benefit of the doubt. And so I think the Spurs and the Suns maybe not make it. And this is gonna be shocking. I'm kind of giving some hope to the Kings. I think the Kings may be a little bit better in the second half than we give them credit. Watch out for the Kings, man. I'm not ready to rule them out. Watch out for the Kings.
Yep, that's what I was about to ask you about. They're that other team in the mix, and nobody's really expecting anything out of them, but they still got the same. I don't know. Levine in this situation, we know what the bonus is. More Malik Monk. I'm excited to see what the Kings do. The next one I want to ask you about is the Lakers. Lakers right now, over under 1.5 playoff series won.
I'll give them over under 1.5.
Essentially, can they?
I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna go under. I give them one series. I like again if they matched up with the Clippers or something in a 4-5 type of matchup, or I don't know if they maybe got the Rockets on the right series, they could win those series. But after that, I don't know if they're gonna have enough. The Lakers are also a scary team where it's just very dependent on a series and the matchups, because even though they don't have everything right now, they can still expose you with the basketball savantness of LeBron and Luka and Austin Reeves. Like those guys are going to be able to play off of each other. They're going to create for others. I'm just worried about the depth, and I'm worried about the size on the interior now that they're not going to have Mark Williams or Anthony Davis. But in the right series, right matchup, which probably will be there in the first round, I'll give them winning a series. I can't give them much after that.
Right now, if you had to pick, who do you trust more to make the finals? The Thunder or the Celtics?
The Celtics. And the reason I'm picking the Celtics is I've seen them do it before. The Celtics are still the top team. People are having a conversation about the Celtics as if they're having a bad year. They're just not having the same year as last year. And to me, I'm fine with that. People have to remember, you have to beat them in 7 games, right? Beating them on a random night on Thursday, as bad of a loss may look or whatever, it's way different than playing a team in 7 games, and you have to play at their place for 4 of those games. You remember, this is a Boston Celtics team. No matter how many losses they may have now versus this time last year or whatever, you have to beat them in 7 games. And the same can be said for the Thunder. It's going to be very tough to beat the Thunder in 7 games, but because I've seen the Celtics do it, and because I feel like the East is not as strong as the West, I'll give the Celtics the edge in this conversation.
I want to ask you about the Nuggets as well. They won 8 straight heading into the All-Star break. Do you think they are the biggest threat? What's up?
Quiet 8. Like I feel like they went on an 8-game winning streak, and nobody talked about it, and I think it's good for them. They're to me a contender. People kept asking who my contenders were. There's not 9 contenders. I had the Thunder, and I had the Nuggets, I had the Cavs, I had the Celtics, and I threw the Knicks in there. Those are my 5 contenders. I think the Nuggets are scary because you have Jokic, that nobody can stop him on the interior. We just saw Jamal Murray have like a 55. What did he have the other night? Was it 55? Or am I tripping? I might be tripping. But I feel like he had 50 or something, 45 or something.
He
And when
did. He had 55.
yeah, 55. When he is hooping like that and we getting close to the playoffs, you got to be on alert. Christian Brown, I think, is an incredible connecting piece. I think Peyton Watson, those guys, Russell Westbrook, they have a lot going on there that gives them some added boost. And they have this well-oiled offense that I think clicks. So I do think that they're a factor, and I do think that people are kind of sleeping on them just a little bit, but they still, to me, are a contender.
So those are your 5 contenders. If a 6th team enters the fold based on how they finish the season, who would that be? Milwaukee, Orlando come to mind? Is it Memphis or Houston surprising people and being ready?
It would probably be Memphis. I just think when it comes to the playoffs, Memphis is going to check so many different boxes. They have the size, they have the versatility, they have scoring, they have shooting. They can score on the inside, they can score on the outside, they can score in transition. They'll be able to defend. I just think that they clock all of the boxes now. That's the thing. Are they going to be ready for a tough Western Conference playoff run? That's left to be seen, but I would say them. It's also tough to rule out Dame and Giannis. It just really is. So when people, if somebody had the Bucks over the Knicks, I wouldn't be mad because I understand for the Knicks at the end of the day, the Karl-Anthony Towns being the back end of our defense is going to be a really, really, really big factor in the playoffs, and we can get exposed with that. So I also want to put that out there. I threw the Knicks in there because I felt like we need to have 5 at the least. But if anybody put the Bucks over the Knicks or whatever because of that defensive question with Karl-Anthony Towns, I wouldn't be mad at you. But I think the Knicks should be in the conversation. The Bucks should be in the conversation. I don't think the Magic, as of right now, are ready to be in that conversation. I don't think the Rockets are in that conversation either. But I don't think the Rockets need to be. I think this is still a successful year for them, being one of the top teams out west, getting into the playoffs, potentially having home court advantage. That's a successful season for them, and they want to see how good they can be and how far they can go, and they'll make the proper adjustments because that's a team that, hey, they get a first-round exit. It ain't the end of the world. They could go into the offseason and go add Kevin Durant. Like, they are primed to be able to go make a really big move. I just think it's about seeing just how good they are and exactly what they have in the playoffs before they make that move. So, yeah, I would say my 16 will probably be the Memphis Grizzlies.
On the Knicks, does Mitchell Robinson getting healthy change how you feel about the defense at the big position?
On paper, yeah. But the thing about injuries, because I've had one, it's one thing to be healthy and able to play, but it's another hurdle to mentally be back. So it just really depends on what version of Mitchell Robinson we're going to get. He's also going to have to get acclimated. So it's like they're saying March 1st. If that's going to be true and we can get him up to speed from March to the middle of April and then into the start of the playoffs, I'll be happy. But it just depends on what version we get from him when he actually is when he's actually back and available. But he could be a game changer.
So that's us talking about some of the best teams. But at the end of the season, I always like to see, what young guys are stepping up with bigger opportunity teams, where they traded guys and there's more minutes available, more touches and shots available. Who are some guys you're looking at that could potentially, whether it's a breakout or just production, who are you looking for on some of these worst teams? I got a couple names that came to me are our guy Buzelis is going to keep starting for the Bulls, I assume. Reese Shea with some of the Hawks injuries and trading DeAndre Hunter. Some of the Nets guys like Tosan from Princeton or Keon Johnson. And then Ben Simmons, could he find a renaissance on the Clippers? Any of those guys or other names you have on your mind?
Yeah, I think Ben Simmons is going to be a game changer for the Clippers. I want to see more of a sample size there. Some guys have already started, so I don't want to make it seem like I'm predicting anything. Like I think Collier for the Isaiah Collier for the Jazz has already started turning things up. Modest has started turning things up. I think Max Christie has done a lot better than I could have imagined for the Mavericks. Somebody was saying he was going to break out. I already felt like he was breaking out with the Lakers, but he's really actually is breaking out. I don't know if that was you, Christian, or maybe somebody I was talking to on stream or something like that. Guys that I think or will want to see, I want to see some more from the Wizards guys. Keyshawn George, Bub Carrington. I would also like to see who's the teams at the bottom out west. Like, because I feel like the Blazers, they're already giving us some stuff. They're not even at the bottom. Like, Tamani Kamara has been doing this thing. Oh, I want to see some stuff from Nick Smith Jr. on the Hornets. I want to see some stuff from him. I'm trying to think of Cody Williams. I don't feel like Cody Williams is giving us a lot with Utah this year, man. I want to see him try to use these 28 games to stand out a bit more. Who else do we have out there? There's a lot of guys. I would love to see Scoot have a good second half. Scoot was putting together some really good games when the Blazers were like 9-1 in the last 10. I remember when they were streaking. I actually want to see the Blazers actually continue that. I want to see how many games the Blazers can drop off to get closer to that play-in. I don't know if they should compete for the play-in. You know, maybe get your lottery pick or whatnot. But I want to see them be competitive. I think it's something about actually competing. And Cam Johnson actually said that on a podcast, and he was saying like, oh no, I'm sorry. He did an interview with The Athletic, and he was speaking out on how like fans want to tank and everything, but it's like as basketball players, we want to win and we want to compete. So regardless of how y'all feel or you think we should be doing, we're going to play every game to win. And so Blazers, I know the Blazers ain't competed for a championship. I know they're young, but like it was dope to see them go 9-1 and be competitive and fight with good teams. I want to see more of that from them as a totality. I know you're not the highest fan, but Denny, Shaden Sharp, Kamara, Scoot Henderson, my boy Bryce McGowan's. I want to see some of those guys make some impact. And then I'm trying to think of if there's anybody that I'm missing.
Well, the counterpart, I feel like.
Who's the worst person? Who's the worst team in the Western Conference?
Pelicans.
Do the Pelicans have anybody?
Jordan Hawkins? Or just the continued ascension of Trey Murphy?
Yeah, I guess the continued ascension of Trey Murphy is a good way to put it. Yeah.
I was about to bring up the Raptors. I feel like they're the counterpart of
Jamal
Blazers.
Jamal shared Raptors. Now I'm done.
Just like the ethical tanking of like teams playing good basketball and you're kind of excited about the young pieces, even if they keep losing. But now you bring in Brandon Ingram, maybe it'll be interesting to see how the Raptors finish the season, I think.
Yeah, I'm excited for them, especially since he got his extension, so they don't have to rush the injury. There's no question marks. They got exactly what they're trying to do there. I just think it's value in competing, right? I think it's important for players to be able – the NBA is a tough league. So when the Blazers go 9-1 and they show themselves that we can play at a high level, we are these guys, like we belong, I think that does so much for your developmental aspect versus saying like we're going to lose as many games as we can. I get trying to get the highest pick. I get it. But a lot of you teams have the highest pick and don't even know what to do with it anyway. So it's like whatever. I think it's beneficial to go out there and show yourself that you can have game-winning shots, or you know what I mean, that you can imagine if Shaden Sharp and the Blazers were able to beat the Thunder. Right, let's just say I'm making this up. March 9th, the Blazers are going to go play the Thunder at home, and the Blazers win, and Shaden Sharp has 42 points. That will do more than trying to tank for the 7th overall pick. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just me. So yeah, I'm enjoying a lot of these different guys around the league showcasing their skill. I really like the guys like Tamani Kamara that aren't household names that get to really carve out an identity for themselves. But there's a lot of talent around the league, so it's always good to have these second half guys showcase over a 25 game sample size what they can do. Now you got to take it with a grain of salt because it does get very annoying when everybody evaluates the player on just 25 games. Man, what about him? You don't think he could be an all-star? What about the 25 games or the last 15 games of the season when he was averaging 29 points? You don't see the vision. It's like you got to take it with a grain of salt, man. You got to take it with a grain of salt.
You brought him up. Keyshawn George. I will say Wells was prospect number one, and right there with him for me was Keyshawn George. I'm a huge believer in him. I want to see him keep playing.
Me too. I like his game a lot, man. Me too. I seen him. He posted a picture at the U over the course of All-Star Weekend. He said he was back at the U getting up shots, working out. So hopefully hopefully that means he locked in for a big second half of the season. But yeah, I think it's a lot of talent out there, man. We just gotta be patient. Let's continue to be patient. I hate writing off these guys so early. Not that I ever do, but I be seeing the conversations people be having. So yeah, and I think Killian Hayes just got like a 10-day with the Nets. So yeah, we'll see what Killian Hayes got. Killian Hayes back in the league. But yeah, that's a wrap for another episode of Tee It Up. Shout out to the team, Kat, Maddie, Drew, Christian. I'm Pierre, Pee Wee the Plug Andreessen, your host. We will see you guys next week with more basketball to talk. Make sure you get in those comments, dropping us any questions, concerns, or whatever, because we always looking for what y'all want us to talk about. We out, though. Peace.